In today's video, I'll be revealing why most people approaching retirement feel unprepared and the simple 8-step checklist that can help turn your confusion into confidence. Through analyzing thousands of cases and working with hundreds of people, I've identified some key preparation steps that separate those who enter retirement with peace of mind from those who face years of financial stress and uncertainty. And that's why I'm making this video today, to show you this retirement readiness checklist, why most people miss critical preparation steps and how implementing these strategies can help to transform your retirement outlook in just weeks. So let's get right into it. Why do so many people feel unprepared for retirement, even after working hard for 30 or 40 years? It's more common than you might think. In fact, surveys consistently show that a large number of Americans approaching their 60s are more afraid of running out of money than they are of dying. That's a powerful statement, and it says a lot about the state of retirement confidence. The real issue isn't lack of information. We're surrounded with retirement advice. The problem is that the advice often feels disconnected, complicated, or overwhelming. It's not that people haven't tried, it's that they haven't been shown how to turn all of that noise into a clear, workable plan. We're missing the important steps that help people not to know just the information, but how to apply the information. People tell us each and every week the million-dollar question is, how do I apply this information to my situation? And one of the biggest reasons people feel unprepared is because they've been taught to focus on the wrong things. For years, the conversation has centered around things about hitting the magic retirement number. Like, once you've saved a certain amount, then you're good to go. But that approach leaves out a lot of the story. It doesn't address how to turn those assets into income. It doesn't plan for taxes, rising healthcare costs, or how your spending might change over time. And honestly, a lot of financial advisors stop too short. They help with growing the portfolio, but they don't spend nearly enough time talking about how to actually live off of it with confidence. See, true retirement readiness isn't just about what you've saved. It's about how well you've planned to use it. The difference between a peaceful retirement and a panicked one often comes down to preparation, not just how much money you have, but how clearly you've thought things through. A well-crafted plan gives you more than just financial clarity. It gives you emotional confidence. When you know how your income is going to work, how taxes are being handled, what your healthcare plan looks like, and how to adapt when life changes, well, that creates peace of mind. There's research showing that people who take time to walk through these specific steps, like identifying income sources, stress testing their plan, for maybe even updating their estate documents, those people report significantly less anxiety. On the flip side, I've seen folks with millions in savings still feel unsure because they haven't connected the dots. Without a plan, even a big number doesn't feel secure. So let's examine the 8-step checklist that can help transform anxiety into confidence, and it sets that foundation for a secure retirement. Step 1 is simple, but it's powerful. Take inventory. Most people skip this, or they assume that they already know what they have. But when we sit down and we actually map everything out, it's often eye-opening. Creating a full inventory of your assets, your debts, and your income sources gives your plan structure. It shows you where you're strong and where your gaps are at. And I'm not just talking about your 401k. You want to include everything: your savings, your investments, your mortgage, and any other debts, pensions, Social Security estimates, rental properties, anything that contributes to your financial picture. This is the beginning of your personal financial narrative. In our firm, we have the families that we serve, we help them with this by keeping this financial narrative of theirs in software so that it's always up to date and it's easy to work with. But you don't need software to start. You can just use a worksheet. The key is to keep it accessible so you can monitor and track it over time. And that's what gives you real clarity. Step 2 is building or maintaining an emergency fund. And yes, even in retirement, this is important. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is when they assume that their retirement accounts are their emergency fund. But if you're forced to pull money from your IRA or your 401k outside of your withdrawal plan, it can cause you to pay unnecessary tax bills. Now, some people don't hear this advice and they show up ready for retirement and 100% of their savings are located in their 401k. It's not the end of the world, but it's not fun to feel like you have handcuffs from that 401k or IRA every time you need extra money outside of your planned spending. And that's why it's nice to have liquid cash set aside specifically for emergencies. Now, we usually recommend keeping around 6 months worth of living expenses in a high yield savings or a money market. This gives you breathing room when life throws you a curveball like a home repair, a family situation, or an unexpected medical bill without having to disrupt your withdrawal or tax strategy. An emergency fund acts as a financial shock absorber, protecting the rest of your plan from derailment. I can't tell you how often my team tells me our clients are withdrawing from their high yield savings accounts for new air conditioners or roofs or car repairs. Step 3 is to eliminate debt, and that's retirement planning 101. Now, let me be clear, not all debt is created equal. It can be okay to have a mortgage in retirement. Many people do. And when it comes to cars, I see retirees handling it in one of two ways. They either pay cash or they finance it. And if they finance it, it's usually because the interest rate is low. They've got stable, predictable income that can cover the payment without stress. And that's fine. What matters most is getting rid of high interest stuff like credit cards, personal loans, and any lingering consumer debts that you have. Those are the things that eat away at your flexibility and your peace of mind. The key is to get into retirement without unnecessary financial drag and to drive a car that you can actually afford. And that's what gives you breathing room. Ideally, you want to be freed up from those debts before you retire. If you feel like this is the sort of stuff that'll help you to get straight on your own retirement, I want to point out that I'll put a link that you can click below, and that will point you to another video that I made that will help you to understand how we help people to optimize their retirement plan moving forward. So be sure to check that out. Now, step 4 is figuring out what you truly need in retirement. Not what a generic calculator tells you, but what you actually need based on your life. Most online tools make broad assumptions that don't match your real spending habits. They might estimate that you need 70% of your pre-retirement income, but that number could be way off depending upon your goals, your health, or your lifestyle. A better approach is to start by mapping out a timeline of your income sources. When Social Security starts, when pensions or required minimum distributions kick in, and then build a budget around how you want to live. What will travel look like? Are you helping family financially? Will your healthcare expenses change? A good retirement budget isn't just numbers. It reflects your values and the life that you want to create after work. We tell people that they want to keep that income and expense ledger out on the kitchen table or on your desk for a little while and just revisit it. Spend a short season contemplating it. Just take a look at it. The more work that you do before you someday retire on that income that you're seeing in front of you and those expenses, that's directly correlated to how prepared you feel for retirement. So give that a try. Step 5 is easy to overlook, but if you do just a little bit of work, you'll feel more prepared. It's easy to assume that Medicare will cover everything or that your expenses are going to go down once you leave work. But in reality, healthcare costs often increase in retirement, and they're one of the biggest reasons retirees feel financial pressure. According to the BLS, a consumer study showed that on average, expenses jump after age 75, especially when you think about long-term care or out-of-pocket expenses. And that's why smart Medicare planning matters. Choosing that right coverage, whether that's a Medigap policy or Medicare Advantage, it can really help. And unless you're within 6 months of the age of 65, most agents won't find the time to talk to you about it. But it's worth reading a short book or two on the topic. And then when you are within 6 months of 65, reach out to a Medicare specialist, get the more granular information. The more proactive you are about healthcare, the more secure the rest of your plan becomes. Step 6 is planning your estate. And I know it's not the most exciting part of your retirement preparation, but it might be one of the most important. And even saying that I'm in danger of being just another person telling you the same thing, but it's for good reason. Estate planning isn't just about what happens after you're gone. It's about protecting you while you're alive and making things as smooth as possible for your loved ones. You need to have at least a will, preferably a trust, a power of attorney, and healthcare directives at a very minimum. And these are the core documents that will give you clarity in times of uncertainty. And they're not just something you do once and forget. You should review them every 5 years or anytime your life circumstances change. In our practice, we walk with families throughout retirement. And we're there when these big life moments happen: an unexpected illness, a decline in health, a loss of a spouse. Having these documents in place makes those moments less chaotic, less painful, and so much easier to navigate. It's not just planning for the inevitable, it's about giving your family the gift of direction and peace when they need it most. These final 2 steps are going to make sure that your money works effectively throughout your retirement years. Step 7 is rethinking your investment strategy for retirement. And this is where a lot of people get nervous. You see, the instinct is to often pull back, to go ultra conservative, or to shift everything into bonds just because you've hit the retirement age. But retirement isn't a finish line. It's a transition. Hopefully, you'll be investing for another 30 years. And the truth is, your portfolio still needs to grow, especially to keep up with inflation and rising healthcare costs. In our view, and in the spirit of the well-respected Nick Murray and what he teaches, you don't abandon equities in retirement. You lean into them with the right strategy. That means owning a globally diversified portfolio of great companies and staying disciplined even when the market gets noisy. The goal is to generate reliable income without sacrificing long-term growth, and that might include dividend-paying stocks, total return strategies, or using systematic withdrawals built around risk-based guardrails. The key is to not build your portfolio around a single date, but around the reality that retirement is a decades-long journey. The right mix of investments gives you confidence to spend, to grow, and adapt along the way. Step 8 is learning how to withdraw funds and minimize taxes. And this is where the real magic in retirement planning happens. It's one thing to build up your savings plan, but knowing how to use that money in the most tax-efficient way is just as important. In fact, without a solid withdrawal strategy, you could end up paying more in taxes than necessary or depleting the wrong accounts too soon. Once you hit age 73, required minimum distributions kick in, and that alone can create a bigger tax bill if you're not careful. And that's why we help clients build a plan that coordinates withdrawals across different account types: taxable, tax-deferred, and Roth. The right order of withdrawals can lower your tax burden and stretch your retirement dollars further. Taxes don't go away in retirement. In fact, they often become more complicated. And the truth is, most retirees end up paying thousands more in taxes than they need to, simply because they don't have a strategy. But with the right planning, you can keep more of what you've saved and you can turn that into greater financial freedom. Strategic tax planning can dramatically increase your spendable retirement income, and that includes techniques like Roth conversions during your lower income years, managing your taxable income to reduce that IRMA surcharge that Medicare has, and being intentional about where your withdrawals come from, whether that's a traditional IRA, a brokerage account, or a Roth. One of the most powerful things that we do for our clients is to help them to map out how to spend from the right buckets at the right time. It's not about avoiding taxes altogether, okay? It's about making smart moves to minimize the impact and to stretch the life of your savings. Now that we've went over this retirement readiness checklist, let's look at how you can implement these steps so you feel more prepared for your retirement someday. So how do you take this checklist and turn it into an actual retirement readiness plan, one that's built for you? Well, that starts by setting real timeframes for each step. Some items like building your emergency fund or eliminating debt might take a few years. Others, like getting your estate documents in order or reviewing your healthcare coverage, can be done in maybe as few as a couple weeks. So we help our clients keep track of all this using software that acts like a financial dashboard. Whether you use technology or a notebook, the important thing is to keep the plan visible. When you can see your progress and you know what's coming next, it's much easier to stay motivated and on track. One of the most powerful parts of this process isn't just what you do, it's how you think. Shifting your mindset from accumulation to distribution is a major turning point. Think about it. For decades, the goal has been saving, growing, and even building things up. But in retirement, the question becomes, how do I live off of this? That shift, when handled the right way, it can turn anxiety into clarity. I've seen it time and again. The moment someone stops focusing solely on the size of their nest egg and they start focusing on how to create that stable, tax-efficient income that they need, and that's where things really start to click. What's also encouraging is that taking action, even small steps, can dramatically reduce retirement stress. You don't have to have every detail figured out on day one. Just knowing that you're making progress and that there's a plan taking shape, that really brings a lot of peace of mind. And there's research backing this up. People who feel prepared, regardless of how much money they've saved, report significantly higher levels of satisfaction in retirement. You see, confidence doesn't come from hitting the magic number. It comes from knowing what to do with what you got. The truth is, no two retirements are the same, and that's why this checklist isn't meant to be a one-size-fits-all. It's a framework, but it needs to be shaped around your financial situation. Maybe you're ahead on savings, but you've got some debt to tackle, or maybe you're retiring in 2 years, or maybe it's in 10 years, but the steps stay the same. The timing, the emphasis, and the execution is going to look different for everybody. The beauty of this process is that it works no matter where you're starting from. If you're behind on savings, the focus might be on reducing your expenses and maximizing your catch-up contributions. If you're ahead, it might be about fine-tuning your tax strategies and your legacy planning. Personalization of the checklist is what makes it real. It takes that generic plan and it turns it into a real roadmap, one that fits your lifestyle, your values, and your vision for retirement. And when your plan fits you, it's more likely to succeed. Now that you understand the 8-step retirement readiness checklist, you can move forward with clarity and confidence about your own retirement preparation. By methodically implementing these steps, from taking an inventory of your assets to optimizing your withdrawal strategy, you'll address the critical preparation areas that most people overlook. And if you'd like to learn exactly how to implement this checklist for your specific situation, click the link below to watch my free training video. I'll walk you through each step in detail, and I'm going to show you how to create your personalized retirement readiness plan. I'll see you in the next video.